Hello, everybody. I am the Proactive Caregiver, and I specialize in educating others on how to be proactive by empowering you, the caregiver. Because if you cannot take care of yourself, then you cannot take care of your loved one. Today, I want to talk to you about caregiver healing with aromatherapy through the use of essential oils. Because centuries ago, we used essential oils for quite a bit of things. For one, we used to use them to mask unpleasant odors. We also used them as a form of currency, and especially for preventing sickness, because back then we understood, we knew how to harness the power of the antibacterial properties that many of these essential oils carry. I use, for example, frankincense. Now, before COVID, it was easy to find this oil because of the antibacterial property. It was fairly inexpensive. And then COVID happened and it was extremely hard to find for sometimes 5 times the cost if you could find it anywhere because of the use. So I know there's so many better things that we could use instead of always going to chemicals or other medicines. And that is why I asked my friend, Donna Hall, the founder of Teaching Oils, to join me today because I want her to share some of her story and her talent and expertise when it comes to these essential oils, because she knows how to use the oils in a way that helps the natural healing solutions for various ailments and even just to be the mental health booster that pretty much all of us need. Donna Hall is a teacher at heart, and at the age of 9, she was the student that helped other students with their homework, so she eventually obtained a bachelor's degree in linguistics. Donna taught ESL, Latin, English, all in the classroom, and then eventually she homeschooled her 4 wonderful children. She also taught language arts from kindergarten through community college students. After receiving multiple diagnoses for various health issues, though, Donna had to learn about self-care and how to advocate for herself. Rather than follow industry norms, Donna became a wellness advocate and a transformational health coach. She learned to provide natural solutions with essential oils for her needs and for others who are also struggling with physical, emotional, and even mental challenges. In spite of her health challenges, though, she loves connecting and helping and teaching women who are 40 years young and up how to improve their well-being. So Donna, thanks for coming on with me today.
Very happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And let me say, first of all, I sincerely appreciate you as a teacher. I know you probably don't hear that enough. Teachers don't get enough gratitude and appreciation. But, ironically, I knew we had some connections, but my mother was an ESL teacher and taught Latin and French and English as well. And so she mainly taught this for middle school students, which I can't imagine how challenging that was. But it's awesome that you are taking your teaching ability and combining it with the essential oils.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, out of curiosity, everything you know now, I'm sure came over a period of time, but did you grow up in your household with the knowledge that essential oils existed, or did your family ever use them?
No, my parents were older when they had us kids. I have 3 brothers, no sisters. They grew up in the Depression, and they didn't have a lot of options available for healthcare to them because they were just working on getting food.
Right.
So we were raised with, oh my goodness, you go to the doctor and whatever the doctor says, you do. And you know what? There are a lot of really, really awesome doctors out there. And I am grateful for the awesome doctors in my life. Really, really grateful. But I married and started having kids. Our first two kids were twins, and they had some issues and things. And I did every single thing the doctor said because that's how I was raised. And then when one of them had a reaction to a certain something and another one had another problem with that, and then I'm asking questions and I'm hearing, oh, just give them Tylenol, it'll go away. And then the things keep happening and keep happening. I'm asking the questions, and my brain is wired like a teacher's. I can't help it. I want to know why. I want to know this does this. Well, what's behind it that makes it do this? Well, does it do that every time? Well, does it do it other times? Does it do it with certain people? Or what are the circumstances, that make it work better? If I do this with it, is it improved? Does it last longer? And I ask all those questions. I'm naturally curious. And so when my kids were having a hard time with any number of things, I wanted to know why. And I was that probably pain in the neck person that asked the doctor all the questions. And they're like, oh my gosh, it's that woman again, But I wanted to know, and because my kids,
Right.
if they're not doing well, I'm the mom. I'm the one that has to deal with them not doing well. I want to know what makes it better. And so I became their advocate. Before I even knew I needed to be my own advocate. I had some diagnoses that didn't come until my twins were, I think, 8 or 9, something like that. But so we had 4 kids when I had some pretty serious diagnoses. I had 3 of them in about a 8-year period. And it was pretty intense. It was like, oh, yeah, I want to go to the doctor again because they're going to tell me something else fun. Not, but it was just one of these things. But you learn to ask questions, and you learn to keep asking them until you understand, because at the end of the day, me, a doctor, you, anybody that's not you doesn't live in your body.
Right.
I don't know what it is to live in your body. I don't know what it is to feel what you feel right now living in your body.
Exactly.
And so I can tell you any number of things, but that doesn't make me an expert on living in your body. It means I know about what I know about. And so at the end of the day, we have to become our own best advocates. We have to be the one that asks the questions, because we can't assume somebody else understands. They probably don't. They probably have either really good intentions or lots of knowledge, or hopefully both, but they don't have the knowledge that you have living in your own body. And that's where we have to learn to ask the questions and become that potentially obnoxious patient or person that's asking all the questions all the time, and not worry about becoming obnoxious or being seen as obnoxious. Just, I need to understand, because it's my life on the line here.
Exactly.
It's my health, or my child's health, or my mother's health.
Yes.
And somebody's got to stand up and say something.
I did the same thing with my mother going through a lot of her care. I didn't know any different. And especially when one doctor referred you to another specialist for something else, we end up doing what the doctors say, because after all, they are the doctors. And I agree. There are some really, really good doctors who will ask the questions, who will dig in further. But then there also are the doctors that will just pull out the prescription pad and say, you need to take this, and not really get down deep enough. They're just treating symptoms, not the root causes. So as you were getting your diagnoses and you were kind of going through this, you had that mindset already because of your children. Did you just eventually have this skepticism with the doctors and medicine, or did you just use that as the opportunity to expand the knowledge for your own health?
I have this inner voice, and she's potentially really crabby and cranky, and she's a total cynic, and she rolls her eyes at the drop of a hat. It's this inner voice. I've even given her a name. I apologize to anyone out there named Beverly, but her name is Beverly in my head, and she's a total cynic. And so somebody says, oh, take this peppermint and it'll help you breathe better. And I'm going, oh my gosh, really? Peppermint, whatever. That's inside my head all the time.
Yeah.
So I kind of am just naturally, I kind of have a little attitude. And so,
which is good.
When I was going through, a little is good, a little too much. Yeah, well, but when I was going through getting diagnoses and getting another, I had to find this balance, because when you hear, like the very first diagnosis I got, I made the mistake of going home, and the doctor gave me all these statistics. well, if you do this and this and this for this long, you're going to have this and this problem and this chance of having that and all these things. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. I mean, that was
Yeah.
what I thought.
Yeah.
And what he diagnosed me with, people die from all the time. And so
Wow.
but it's one of those things you don't have to die. But it depends on kind of how it affects you, you know? And so I made the mistake of going home and Googling it and looking at Google image, end
Yeah.
stage, not a good idea. And you can let the doctor be God in a sense.
Oh, true.
Whatever he says, it must be the truth. He knows everything and all. And the truth is, like I said, I have a lot of respect, so much respect for really good doctors. I really do. And I'm very grateful for them. But at the end of the day, I had to find that balance between listening to the doctor, asking all the questions, getting the information, and then setting it aside, going and taking a walk, drinking a cup of tea on my back porch, petting the dog, deep breath. What do I want to do for my life with this information? And is there more information? And you know what? There always is.
Right.
Now, you can go down the rabbit hole of trying to find all the information and never stopping. And I think we each need to find that boundary for ourselves. But for me, I went on a long journey, if you will. I tried almost anything natural that I could find. I literally found a homeopathic practitioner who gave me little homeopathic remedies that helped a lot. I found an awesome chiropractor that helps a lot. I found a wonderful nutritionist in Cedar Park that helped tremendously.
Yes.
I actually went to a man who helped me get my gut biome in line. We have a microbiome, basically the gut flora in our intestinal tract that helps with so many things in our lives, including our emotions and our immune support, our hormones, all kinds of things, never mind just our digestion.
Right.
And when I got my gut in line, a whole lot of things got better. And I was looking for the silver bullet. I was looking for the one thing that was going to make everything better. But the truth is, there isn't that one thing.
No.
It's a combination of things, and it's a combination of finding what works for you. When I found essential oils, for me, they helped with the physical stuff, but I didn't realize how down I was feeling. When you have the diagnoses, when you feel bad in your body every day, it affects your emotions directly, and you can start to just call yourself Eeyore, you know, oh, bother, another day. And you get into that mentality. Yeah. I'm this person because I've had this diagnosis, and you start to define yourself by your diagnosis.
Right. It becomes your new identity.
It does. And you can't let that happen.
No. You
have to say, no, I am not that person. At the end of the day, I am not what happens to me. I am what I make out of my own life, despite whatever happens. Right. And you have to make that choice. And sometimes you have to make that choice daily for a long time until it becomes second nature. But it is something that you have to fight against that. So yeah.
You do, because that is something I watched my mother do time and time again. And because I saw her do it when I started doing it, it thankfully became that bell in my mind, kind of like, oh, wait a minute, don't do this. This is what she used to do. Don't do this. And then I got a little obsessed with everything she did. And I tried not to do what she did because I didn't want to head down that depressed state, or have the health issues that she had. But it was like you said, it was never any one thing. And I did go down the rabbit hole. Because the more I needed to know. I say I have my own teacher part. I need to know. And I want to teach others how not to fall down that rabbit hole and go this way instead, or something like that. But
right.
Which is why I went down the rabbit hole. And the more I found, the more I was fascinated. And then the more I was frustrated with how we have this knee-jerk response and how commercials run. If you have pain, pop a pill. If you have pain, whether it's over the counter or it's something prescription that you have to go to the doctor and say, I saw this on TV. I want this pill because it says it'll fix my problems. I wanted to stop taking that approach. And that's what essential oils started to do for me. So
Yeah.
I actually included a section in my book about the essential oils because it was that important for those proactive measures. I mean, mental
Yep.
health,
Yep.
and like I said, frankincense is just one of the many oils I have and use for all kinds of issues and muscle aches and pains and you name it. But when I was going down that rabbit hole, I also found that people have this adverse effect towards essential oils, almost a fear of using them because back in the day when we were using them for currency and healing and all these other things, it was seen as witchcraft. Have you ever experienced that with others that are trying,
Oh,
when
yeah.
you explain the benefits of it now,
Yep.
do they take it, go in that, respond in that other direction of no, 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 we can't touch those?
Yeah. Well, two reactions I've had. One, actually, a very, very dear friend of mine is now a Christian, but she actually literally used to be a witch. She was in a coven in Austin, Texas, and involved in spells and all of the
Wow.
things. And when she came out of that lifestyle and became a Christian, she wanted nothing to do with it anymore. So when I mentioned essential oils, she was like, ah, because, like anything, you can use a knife to kill somebody. Does that mean you get rid of all the knives in your house? Do you
Right.
not cut your steak with a knife anymore? Of course not. How are you using it? It is a tool. And like
Yes.
anything, an essential oil can be used any number of ways. It doesn't mean I have to use it that way. And it doesn't mean that the thing itself is a bad thing just because someone else used it in a bad way. And so I had to talk through with her, God made these. This comes from a plant. This is
Mm-hmm.
nothing to be afraid of.
Exactly.
This is something natural. This is something that actually, it's really interesting. So our bodies are what we call carbon based because they're living. Anything
Mm-hmm.
alive is carbon based. It just has to do with the chemistry of our bodies. The essential oil is carbon based because it comes directly from a plant, provided there's no synthetics added to it.
Right.
If you add a synthetic, now it's no longer completely carbon based. But if it's a pure essential oil, it's going to be carbon based, which means our bodies recognize it. It's
Mm.
meant to work with our cells.
Mm-hmm.
They're designed to work with our bodies. And when I was able to talk her through that, she's like, you know what, you're right. I never thought about that before. And
Yeah.
she had to sit and get over a couple of things. And she uses oils now all the time and is very healthy with it and everything else. Grateful for them. I also had another friend say, okay, now I'm supposed to turn to God or to people that know better when I have a
Mm.
problem. I can't turn to a bottle. Is that going to take the place of my doctor? Is that going to take the place of God in my
Wow.
life? Am I going to turn to this? I guess it could if you let it, but do when you talk to your neighbor about, my kid's got this and this and this going on with his sinuses, and we're going to probably do that or that. Are you turning to your neighbor like they're God? No, you're just having a conversation and maybe
Yeah.
getting some concrete information back. This is having a conversation with your body. This literally is information for yourselves. And when you use it, it goes into your cells and helps your cells to function better. It's just information. And you know what? If you don't need it, it doesn't do anything. It's really cool.
That's what I love about it because it's like taking vitamins. People say, oh, my body can't absorb it. I'm just going to pee them out. Well, if this is a oil that your body doesn't need, it's not going to affect you. It will fade. Now, it is something that I did have to understand oils and their potency and how my body absorbed them. So, can you talk a little bit about how our bodies respond to these oils and how we actually
Absolutely.
use them?
Sure, sure. Well, there's three ways to use essential oils. The first way is aromatically, which means it's going in through your nose. And actually, we have these things called olfactory receptors. I think of them as miniature catcher's mitts, if you will, that catch the aroma. They're like inside your nose. You've got this, actually, it's called your olfactory bulb or your recepting bulb, whatever. But it's inside your nose with all of these little receptors. And it's directly tied to your olfactory nerve, which goes into the very central part of your brain where your amygdala is. It's in the limbic system area of your brain,
Mhm.
very, very central part inside the very middle of your head. And that's where the end of that nerve goes. So when you take, for example, peppermint, you put a drop of peppermint on your hand. You rub your hands, just one drop. You rub your hands together and you inhale. I'm now a diffuser, by the way.
Right, the
Oh,
warmth of your
wow, that is
body.
strong. Yes. So I'm a walking diffuser now. I'm a human diffuser. You don't have to go buy one of the fancy diffusers. You can use your own two hands. But okay, I inhale. My olfactory receptors are receiving that aroma that's coming from the essential oil on my hands. It's going in through that olfactory nerve. It's connecting to the inside of my amygdala and the inside part of my brain and all that. And it's
Hmm.
registering with my brain what I'm smelling. Not only that, it's helping my lungs because I inhaled it, right?
Hmm.
So it's going into my lungs for any kind of support that I might need, respiratory support there. And it's also, it can affect your emotions because that very central part of your brain is where your emotions reside. So a
Yes.
lot of times, this is actually something that is very uplifting. The peppermint, super, super uplifting oil, great for focus. When I was in the classroom, actually, as a teacher, I had permission to diffuse essential oils with all of my students. I got permission from
Nice.
every one of the parents. And so peppermint was something I used a lot of. Why? Because it helps with focus. It helps you to
Yes.
wake up. It helps you pay attention. And we all know we could use a little of that, right?
Yes.
And so I had that. I had a diffuser going. I'll show you my diffuser. This is a diffuser I have right here. It's just a little one. You can see that mist coming out the
Hmm.
top of it, but I'll turn it off for a minute. And what it is basically you take the lid off, you add some oil, water in there, add a couple drops of oil, put the lid back on, push the button, and then it starts up again. And then you've got it here. And it's going into the air and you're smelling it, and
Yes.
meaning it's going into and changing. You can change the mood of a room. You can
Oh,
help a person
yeah.
wake up. You can help a person wake up. You can help a person go to sleep with a diffuser. You can help with respiratory support. You can help with any number of things. So there, every one of the oils has an emotional component to them. There's actually emotional books that are written that tell you this oil is good for these types of emotions. And it has to do with how the natural chemistry of this oil interacts with the brain. Now, maybe
Yes.
this is an up oil, which it is. It's a very happy oil, a very focusing oil, elevating oil. Peppermint is. If you're already up and elevated, is it going to make you manic? No, it's not.
No.
Your body won't
Mm-mm.
use that because it doesn't need anymore. So it's wonderful for that type thing. So aromatically, that's one way to use it.
Okay.
Topically is another way to use it. And the rule of thumb there is put it where it hurts. If you've got
Mm.
something going on, or if you've got an area, like if you want to be able to smell something, you can put it like maybe on your chest or
Hmm.
on your pulse points, or maybe here on your pulse points. This is the first thing I ever purchased from my favorite company, and it's called Intune. And it's a roller. And I got this because I was in the classroom and I had all this grading to do in a very short amount of time to do it during my lunch break. And my girlfriend comes in and she's like, tell me if I can talk to you about oils. She was trying to get me to buy oils. And I was like, now is not the time. And she's like, okay, can I help with anything? I said, yeah. Can you help me get all this stuff done in 45 minutes? Ha ha ha. Like that's going to happen. It did. It was 3 hours worth of grading I had to do. I got almost all of it done. I don't know
Wow.
what was in this stuff. I'm like, oh my goodness, I need this in my life. So I bought just this. And so this is Intune. I put it here. Sometimes I roll it on my hands and then rub and inhale. Sometimes I'll just put it here for kind of a perfume or whatever. If I put it here, you can actually, like if you're working out and you want to have
Oh,
that cooling,
right.
right? So some people, when they're working out and they're in their workout clothes or whatever, they'll put the peppermint right on the front of their shirt. It's cooling. It's very naturally cooling. But then
Yes.
also when they're working out, it helps them to breathe better. Peppermint actually has been shown, the science behind it. It helps our red blood cells to be able to absorb more oxygen. So if you're
Oh,
working out and you have peppermint available for you to inhale, it actually can help you to have more stamina, more oxygen in your bloodstream while you're working out, which is a really cool thing.
it
Lots of
is.
science behind them. Yeah. The third way to use an essential oil is internally. And I'm going to put a caveat on this. I've used lots of essential oils from lots of different companies in my life. I
Mm.
thought I was getting the good ones because it either
Yes.
said organic or a friend
Right.
said so, or
Right.
there was a fancy display and it was at Whole Foods or Sprouts or some other natural grocer place or something, where I could go and so, well, they must know things because they're in this business. Well, they're not essential oils companies. They're natural foods companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just because they have a display doesn't mean that it's actually going to be the best thing. But I thought I had good stuff. But then when you read the ingredients or read the label, it would say aromatic or topical use. Huh.
Right.
Well, this brand that's my favorite, my favorite brand is doTERRA. On the bottom of this is rosemary. This is one of my favorite smells. There's actually a supplement facts box on there. I don't know if you can see that very well. And at the bottom, it actually says for internal use. Now, do you
Hmm.
have to take it internally? No,
No.
but you could if you wanted to. Do you like the taste of straight rosemary essential oil? Probably not. But you know what? Adding a little of this to your spaghetti sauce, delicious. Having it maybe in a mixture, maybe if you're making some kind of dinner rolls or something, adding just a drop to the entire batch of dinner rolls. Oh
Mm-hmm.
my goodness, it's delicious.
Oh
So I love
yeah.
it. And I love the smell. So when they talk about the smell, rosemary is actually one that's good to support a healthy memory. And
Yes.
it helps your brain to be able to focus better. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a wonderful uplifting oil as well. And I remember rosemary because when I was a child, every time we went to my grandmother's house, she cooked with rosemary. She had this
Oh yeah.
huge rosemary bush outside of her door. And every time we'd walk into grandma's kitchen, it smelled like rosemary. And I would go outside and I always rub the leaves and oh, grandma's house. So to me, this is a very happy smell.
Right.
If you associate something negative with rosemary, you probably don't want to smell this
True.
because we do have those emotional reactions. But aromatically, topically, internally, and I would tell you only DoTerra internally. If you've got another company
Mm.
that says never ever ever use essential oils internally, that's probably because you should never ever ever use their essential oils
Oh
internally.
right. They probably
There's
have the synthetic oils with it.
there's yeah, or they don't have the stopgaps, the testing really in place that this company does.
True.
There's actually I don't know if you can see this one. I'll show you the bottom of my Intune. There's actually a number on the bottom of that. And there's a website you can go to and you can look up third party independent tests run
Hmm.
by a PhD chemist whose full-time job is essential oil testing. And you can look that up and say, hey, what's actually in this? Is it legit?
Oh,
Is there anything
wonderful.
synthetic? And nobody does that. This
No.
company does that.
Right.
And the
Right.
testing behind it, the science behind it, that's why I actually became a wellness advocate with doTERRA, is because I was using it and finding the difference in how my body reacted, how my family reacted between this company and all the other companies out there. They just do everything very, very differently.
I
So
love
long
that.
answer, but yeah.
No, I love that because just as you were explaining it, I started thinking sometimes when I have a headache, rather than take any kind of Tylenol, Advil, or a leaf, and even with migraines, I use the peppermint. And I would put the
Yes.
peppermint, like you said, rub it and just kind of gently tap my temples, and it absorbs into my. And it makes sense now with the blood flow because it is
Yep.
an instant and definitely the cooling effect, but it's that instant relief and also calming. I mean, if I didn't step away from the stress, then yes, I'm going to continue to have that same stressor, but being able to step away from that for a minute. And even when I couldn't step away from it, just the use of that peppermint oil. And in the evenings, or at night when I would go to sleep and having the stuffy nose, congestion, especially when the seasons change and the allergens start coming in to play, I put the eucalyptus and the peppermint in my diffuser at night. And mine has a setting where I can do it for 1 hour, 3 hours, or 6 hours. And I would put enough in there, set it the 6 hour setting, sleep for the night, wake up so rested. And then I started adding, okay, I had peppermint, eucalyptus, and now I'm going to add a few drops of lavender for that calming effect. It makes an incredible amount of difference.
It really does. It really does.
I
Yep.
mean,
Yep.
especially um, the frankincense, oh my gosh, if I ever, I mean, I can have acne or, even in my adult age, every once in a while, I'll have the hormonal testosterone
Yep.
and I dab a drop on my chin and it's gone within a couple hours. I don't have to buy the stuff that I used to buy from the grocery store that didn't really work in the first place and always ended up drying my skin out. It's just, and each time I used one oil and the benefits were incredible, it made me more curious when I saw other ones. Well, what about this? And what about that one? And should I try this one? And I have this ailment. And that's why I went down that rabbit hole, because it's just amazing. And then I brought me back full circle of this is coming from plants from the earth that I will say God put out there for us. And instead of going to the doctor for every little ailment, I now look to see first, is there an essential oil that I can take and safely before I go? Because I have a nutritionist as well, as you mentioned, and I relate to my nutritionist far more than I do to the general doctor. I thankfully don't have any issues that I have to go to any specialists for now because of my nutritionist. And so even down to the point of having the aches and pains. When I herniated another disc in my back and I was like, oh no, this means surgery. No, I just started learning about what essential oils would heal aching muscles, and I started adding things together. I had to add a base oil because one of them was lemongrass. And for me, I used good avocado oil as my base oil.
Nice.
And adding the, again, eucalyptus with the lemongrass and the frankincense and even myrrh. And I put them together and a few drops of lavender. I was like, I'm becoming a chemist here. No wonder they used to call people to think that they were witchcrafting, because I felt like a little bit of this, a little bit of this, and my little tiny cauldron going. And my husband rubbed it into those muscles that were just so incredibly tight and tense that it was the first time after 3 weeks of pharmaceuticals that were just giving me the brain fog and not really healing the pain. So I finally stopped all of that and went to the essential oils, and it was instant relief. I mean, finally a night of rest without constant pain. Huge difference. So when I told my orthopedic, it was hilarious when I told him about it. I said, well, I mixed these oils, and he just kind of looked at me like I was crazy. And he said, really? And I said, yes, I put these things in there. Oh, frankincense and myrrh. And he was like, frankincense and myrrh, like Jesus? And I said, yeah, there was a reason he was given that at birth.
Yep.
And so I explained all of this to him, and he said, really? So it worked? And I said, yeah, the pain went away. And he still was ready to prescribe nerve blockers and all these other things, which didn't help. So I'm a true believer of essential oils. And the one reason I want caregivers to understand this is because it is a natural way to heal, a natural healing solution. And so many caregivers that decide they're not going to go to the doctor, or they tell themselves, I can't because of my loved one or their routine or whatever. This is something that is inexpensive. It can get expensive if you do what I did and go down that rabbit hole and stock up on oils, but it's inexpensive and you actually get results without side effects and the hangups. Yeah. But we do have to learn how to use them appropriately, though.
Yeah, very much. I'm really glad you said a couple of things. You said something, it doesn't change, you have to step away from your life sometimes.
Yes.
Part of my inner Beverly, when I first heard somebody say, again, I'm sorry for anybody named Beverly. When I first heard somebody talk about an essential oil, I thought, oh, my whole life's going to be better because I use an essential oil, whatever. I mean, that's like the kind of reaction I had internally, right?
Yeah.
And the truth is, no. If I told you buy this oil and your whole life's going to be better, I'm lying through my teeth.
Right.
It's not like that. But what it does is it makes me better.
Exactly.
And then I go back to the same circumstance and I handle it better. I'm more able
Exactly.
to be in the moment. I'm more able to be calmer or focused or
Yes.
for clear thinking or whatever. And it's just a wonderful difference that can happen there. It's just a wonderful thing.
It
Yeah.
is. And that's the point, because we are the ones that can allow ourselves to heal, but we can also be the ones that keep ourselves from healing. And
Truth.
awareness is one of the big things, right? So if
Right.
we're in situations where I've had those moments where I would feel real melancholy, and I finally got to the point where instead of me just of trying to pretend like I'm not upset or pretend and hide that I'm not depressed about any situation, I would listen to the sad music while I was working and just give myself an hour at least
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
let the feelings flow. But then I started using the essential oils and the diffusers in my workspace, and I didn't have that as strong. So yeah, I would still have those days where I was a little down. I mean, caregiving isn't always going to be smiles. In
No.
fact, a lot of times once I started to understand them, I started to lean on them more. And then I remembered there were several times I went to my therapist, and I remember her office always smelled so good. And I thought, I just feel good because I'm talking to her. Well, then one day I went in, and the way I sat, we had the positioning a little bit different. But where I sat, it was just this aroma that I thought, oh, that smells kind of familiar, but it smelled so good. And I looked over, and down below on the bottom of a little end table was her diffuser. And it just so happened later, as I was going down that rabbit hole, I found that the using lemon, and you can
Mhm.
find lemon and eucalyptus mixed together, but using lemon, which is what she was using in her office, is that natural uplifting. And if you don't have an essential oil, or if you don't trust it, you can still get an actual
Yep.
lemon, cut it in half and put, or even the small bud of it, and put
Mhm.
that on your nightstand. Of course, put a napkin underneath it. You don't want to discolor your nightstand. But
Right.
you having that natural scent there is very similar. The difference being is the essential oils are far more concentrated. They're far
Yes.
more powerful for us to use.
Yep.
So that's something that I realized. The scent of it is that uplifting feeling, was like, "Ah, okay, so life is still going to happen."
Yes.
And I have to thank you, absolutely, because shortly after mom passed, um, all kinds of emotions, all kinds of feelings, and you gifted me the scent of console.
Mhm.
Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
That was something that for probably the week after, every little time I felt a little bit of sadness, it was kind of it wasn't the placebo effect. At first I was telling myself it just smells good. No, I, just like you did with your roller, I rolled it on the inside of my arm and in the heat seeking spots, and I rubbed and I made sure, and then I just breathed it in. And I put it in the back of my hands, because when I work, sometimes I stare at my spreadsheets and do, and that scent was there, and it really was not just uplifting. It didn't take me from grieving to but it helped me function.
Yeah.
It took the
That's
grieving
exactly right.
to
Yep.
a sadness to a functioning.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I felt like the rest of the day, whenever I had that scent around me,
Mhm.
throughout the day, wherever I went, whatever I did, it was just, I kept smelling my hands. I'm sure people were wondering, why does she keep smelling her hands? But it was addicting at that point, because I didn't want to feel the grieving. I didn't want to feel the sadness, but I got
Mhm.
to a point where I didn't think about it anymore, because I had this scent around me. And I did, as you said too, and put it on my collarbone.
They help you process your emotions. They facilitate the process of getting through into the other side of your emotions. It doesn't squelch them or push them down. It
Right.
doesn't negate them in any way, because my goodness, your mama died.
I know.
You know, that was hard. And
Yeah.
you don't want to rush that or squelch that. You want to honor her memory and all of those things, but you're still processing, and they actually literally help your brain to process your emotions. I'll tell you about my son. One of my twins has struggled with feeling anxious most of his life.
Mm.
Even as a child, he's just had that type of a bent. And come to find out, there's like genetic reasons for it. We're learning about all those things. But he came home from work one time years ago, and he was just flipping out. Oh, this happened, my boss and that, and my coworker said la 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 la. And he was just beside himself, absolutely working himself up. And I
Mm.
went into the next room while he was talking to my husband. I went to the next room and I grabbed a little blend called Serenity. And it's a very calming,
Mm.
grounding,
Yes.
peaceful, restful blend. And I brought it out and I said, give me your hand. And he's like telling me all this stuff. And I put a couple drops and I said, you know what to do. And he rubbed his hands together and he inhaled. And I said, do it again. I said, do it a third time. And then finally he put his hands down. He says, so what's for dinner? And my husband and I are looking at each other going, what just happened here? You know, but it
I love
literally
it.
that quick, it's 22 seconds from your hands till
Yeah.
it starts to affect your
Yes.
brain. And so
Exactly.
all of these emotions that we're feeling, did it change his situation at work? Nope.
Nope.
Did it change that he didn't like what his coworker had said? Nope. But it helped him in the moment be calm and deal with what needed to be dealt with. And
Yes.
those emotional things in the brain, it's just a wonderful, they say you can address 80% of the health issues that come into your life
Yep.
with essential oils.
I believe it. I believe
80%.
it.
And we have. And so, you talk about you can go overboard. If you saw my oils, you'd probably laugh. I got a lot, but literally that, and that's an understatement.
Yeah, I was gonna say you've
But
got more than a lot.
I do, but this is my health care. My
Yeah.
husband has been laid off. My husband was laid off in December 1st, and he's still laid off. And it's
Mm.
almost 6 months now. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, so we don't have any health coverage. We don't have any of this. But you know what? I know what to do. And I've got stuff in the other room. I can go do it.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah.
We're good. The freedom that comes with being able to care for
Yes.
yourself.
Yes. And that's huge because
Yeah.
that's what I felt when I finally had pain relief and I didn't have to use these other things because witnessing everything that mom went through, I'm obsessed now because every little thing that she did, I'm trying not to do and finding other healthy alternatives. So I looked at the nerve blocker, for example, gabapentin. Okay, so I know that if I'm going to avoid surgery, I have to take this to avoid pain. So how long do I take this until it starts affecting my brain or affecting my nervous system, which will eventually affect my brain? So it was very relaxing, freeing, just amazing feeling to not only be pain free, but to know I can do this and not have to fulfill a prescription all the time and not harm my body with these
Right.
other things that knowingly cause side effects.
Right. Right. Well, so there's a chemical scientific reason for that. If you have a cell, like let's just say this is a cell, right?
Mm-hmm.
A synthetic whatever that we take, anything synthetic that is a prescription that is synthetic, it cannot penetrate the cell wall. There's a cell wall, cell membrane around there. That's a fatty acid, not fatty acid. It's a fatty lipophilic, whatever membrane. And those synthetics usually are water based, but and they don't penetrate. partially because they're water-based, partially because they are just synthetic and the cell doesn't recognize it. So usually when you're taking a prescription, it's changing the area around the cell, which changes the cell's function and how the cell functions from the outside. Kind of like if you're around somebody that's yelling a lot, it's going to change how you feel. Or if you're
Right.
around peace and quiet, it's going to change how you feel. So it's your
Yes.
surroundings, it's surrounding. The actual essential oil penetrates the inside of the cell because it is, well, carbon based and natural, and it's an oil. It passes through that membrane. The cell recognizes it. It can change how the cell functions on the inside. Now, sometimes you've got what I call zombie cells, cells that needed to have died and didn't. And
Right.
because our cells have a natural, like anything else, it has a natural lifespan. And when the cells are supposed to die off and we have new ones that are made, then that's supposed to happen. It can actually, some of the oils can actually help our cells to die off when they're supposed to, if they're hanging around when they shouldn't be. It helps the cell do what the cell's supposed to do anyway.
Right.
It just supports that process. So it's just a really neat thing to be able to have access to in your home.
And this is exactly why I wanted you to help share this information, explain a little bit, because it gives, I believe it will give caregivers some hope. Now, one thing I do want to caveat that hope with is
Yeah.
when I started using essential oils, they were wonderful for me. When I tried to introduce them to my mother, she had a lot of the similar, oils, that's just gimmicky kind of stuff. Well, I put diffusers in her living area, in her bedroom. So if it was giving me the benefits, I wanted her to receive them as well. It didn't, because unfortunately with dementia, one of the first senses, and I talk about improving our health by enhancing our senses. Well, unfortunately with dementia, the first sense that goes is our sense of smell. So it wasn't, and now I could have done it topically, but I didn't want her to feel forced into it. Now,
can I tell you something about that?
Sure.
Just because it's not registering as a smell does not mean it's not going up and actually affecting the inside of our brain and our amygdala. So it actually can bring calming. Now, it could be that what was affecting you and helping you just wasn't a match for her.
Right. And trying to figuring out which one was good for her was, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
But caregivers can absolutely use, be curious. Just let your curiosity go and figure out what actually works for you, because there's known, proven, factual data that essential oils are very beneficial. And whether you have them as incorporate them into your routine. If you wash dishes and you are done and you want to put some on your hands because you want your hands to smell better, at least you have that. So as you're doing things around the house, that scent is there. Like Donna mentioned earlier with the workout and putting them on those I call them hot zones, which we automatically create the heat, underneath your neck and stuff. I mean, if anyone recalls growing up, we had Vicks Vapor Rub. Yep. Do you remember that? That always got this greasy smudge stuff. It's not like that. And it's this strong scent that at this point for Vicks to work for me, I have to put a cotton swab and stick it in my nose. And I know it sounds gross, but I don't have to do that with essential oils.
Well, Vicks and things like Icy Hot or Bengay or things like that, a lot of those things have is the synthetic form of the main ingredient of wintergreen. And so wintergreen is known to be helpful in all of those things, helping to open things up. Sometimes it's the synthetic form of the main ingredient of eucalyptus, the mentho eucalyptus stuff or whatever, right?
Right.
But it's the synthetic form of that main ingredient. What you get with the essential oil is all of that essential oil and the synergistic effect of all of those main ingredients, because each single oil has usually between 20 and 40 active ingredients in it. And they might have one main ingredient, but they've got a bunch of littler ingredients that help that main ingredient to work even better. And it's in a natural form, so your body's going to take advantage of it. But I want to tell you one more thing. I feel like I would be doing a disservice if I just said all essential oils work like this.
Oh, no.
Because the truth is they don't all work like this. The essential oil industry is completely unregulated, which means tomorrow you could have Proactive Caregiver essential oils and have your own brand if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And you could go buy a gallon jug on Amazon and you could put it in your pretty little bottles and you could say it's 100% pure. And do you know what?
And it's not.
That doesn't matter. And 100% pure doesn't mean there's 100% pure on the inside because there's nobody regulating that. The other thing is, according to the FDA standards, my understanding is 3% essential oil equals 100% purity to the FDA. So 97%, whatever else, you can put 100% pure. And that's one of the reasons why I chose the company I chose, because it actually is 100% essential oil, nothing added, nothing taken away. And I love that fact. But so don't go to the grocery store and buy the essential oil that's the cheapest. You're not buying any essential oil. And just because it says so on the label doesn't mean that there's anything on the inside of it.
Yeah. I agree. Thank you for pointing that out. I don't think I'll be making a label anytime soon. Oh, so for the caregivers out there that want to know more information about essential oils or wanting to be able to reach out to you, how do they find you?
Well, I actually am on YouTube. I make different videos in there. So if you want to go to YouTube, my name is Donna Hall. So do the @ Donna Hall, and you'll find me on YouTube. You can reach out to me there. You can also go to teachingoils.com, which is my website, teachingoils.com, and reach out to me there, or Donna@teachingoils.com. That's my email address. So just Donna@teachingoils.com, and you can reach out to me. I would love to be able to connect with you and help you in any way that I'm able to, and be able to get you something that is for you, tailored for you, and get you just going in the right direction.
Yes. Thank you so much, Donna, for taking the time to share this beneficial information with us.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. I love to share this. You know, I was a teacher in the classroom for many years, and I loved what I taught. But I was helping kids, and it was great in a lot of ways. To be able to do this full time and be able to help people actually improve their lives and have the hope that I have now that I didn't have before the oils in my life, it's just so rewarding. So thank you for letting me be here and be able to share that and be rewarded for the sharing. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All righty. Thank you for joining us today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this gave you a lot of food for thought. And if you need any other information or would like to read more about this, you can also go to www.proactivecaregiver.com. And until next time, be proactive. Take care, everybody. Thank you for joining today. To find out more about becoming a proactive caregiver yourself, visit proactivecaregiver.com and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Music provided by www.joystock.org. The Proactive Caregiver is produced by Canon Light Media.